Following is a production of Locked Up Sports.
Everybody, this is Don LaGreca from the Michael K. Show. When it comes to talking sports, Bob Walters and Brett Grasso are the authority.
Can't wait.
When it comes to talking sports, they're the authority. It's Bob Walters and Brett Grasso. It's Locked Up Sports, and it starts now.
Bring them out, hey. Bring them out, bring them out, yeah. Bring them out, hey. Bring them out.
Here we go. Bob Walters from the Brian Gunzel Studios. This is Locked Up Sports. It's opening day in baseball, Sweet 16 in college basketball, all types of good stuff going on in sports. The Yankees just finished a wild win, a come-from-behind win. We have it all for you. Plus, Bob Heussler, Mr. Met from WFAN, and he will join us in just a minute. We want to get to that real quick. So, listen, the Yankees literally just finished a game. Soto threw the guy out at the plate with one out, first and second. Clay Holmes got himself into all kinds of trouble in that ninth inning, and there was a base hit. Guy coming around third, trying to score, and Soto throws him out at the plate. There was a review. It was as close as it gets. I mean, did he get him on the shirt? I think there was just not enough evidence to overturn it. So Clay bails out Clay Holmes. The next guy grounds out into a fielder's choice at second, and the Yankees escape with a win on opening day as they beat the Astros 5-4, and this was after a 5-run comeback. I mean, the Yankees were down 4-0 right off the bat. You had Nestor Cortez, who he picked up right where he left off last year. Okay, he came in, he pitched 5 innings, 4 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts in the first inning. So maybe he's sliding into Severino's role for the Yankees as he had trouble in the first inning. The Astros got 3 runs. It was 3-0. It was then 4-0. Judge went 1 for 4. He got 2 with a walk. Soto with a big RBI hit. 1 for 3 with 2 walks and an RBI for Soto. And of course, the outfield assist in the ninth inning that kept the game 5-4 Yankees, and they win it in the opening day, in a wild opening day. Wild game, a wild opening day, everything going on. Plus, you got the Sweet 16 tonight. We're not going to do college basketball today. Today's an opening day special. The Mets rained out. So you know what it means? That means the Mets get their own opening day tomorrow. Mets and Brewers tomorrow from Citi Field rained out. We're going to have Bob Heussler. It'll be his 50th consecutive opening day. 50. Me, I don't go to opening day because I generally don't go to opening day. I haven't decided if I'm going to go tomorrow. I could probably get some pretty cheap tickets. Without further ado, we're going to get now to Bob Heussler, my friend of mine, big Mets fan, WFAN update guy, Fairfield play-by-play guy for 36 years. He does Nets games. He did the Knicks-Nets game on the Fan just last week. Here he is, Bob Heussler. Enjoy the interview, everybody, and happy opening day. Let's go Mets. All right, so now we'd like to welcome our favorite guest, everybody's favorite guest. He is a longtime fixture at WFAN, former radio voice of UConn basketball and the Connecticut Sun of the WNBA, the voice of Fairfield Stags basketball, fills in to do Nets games, and he's a newly enshrined Fairfield Hall of Famer, about to attend his 50th Mets opening day. Bob Heussler. Bob, thanks for giving us a couple minutes here.
Bob, it's great being on with you. We hit it off well that first time we met at Citi Field, and I'm always glad to keep it going with you.
Yeah, that was a good win that night. I think there was a walk-off that night.
It was one of those. It was a good year that year we met.
Yeah. Well, good year until we hit October.
Yes, that's true.
But you know what? Those are the kinds of good years we have. But
well, that'll hopefully change.
Yeah, listen, one day, listen, right? Well, me, you, and Beningo, right? We're all just rooting for and Evan. Now,
we all come from different places too, Bob.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Now, tell me a little bit about Fairfield this year. That was a bad loss in the MAC championship down in Atlantic City. Not a bad loss, like just more of like a heartbreaking loss. They had the light. St. Peter's shot the lights out in the second half and beat them, right?
Yeah, St. Peter's. The way I would explain it, Bob, is they kind of took it from Fairfield. The Stags in that tournament didn't play well, but still beat Iona. Didn't play well, still beat Marist. And then in the first half against St. Peter's, played well. I'm watching that game and I'm thinking, okay, this is the team I watched all year. Second half, they go up by as many as 10, and then St. Peter's just got this emotional surge, and Fairfield went. Here's all you need to know. Fairfield in the second half, when that 10-point lead disappeared pretty quickly, missed 14 straight three-pointers. 14 straight. That's hard to do, especially without getting into the personnel. There are players who could make some of these shots in their sleep or with their eyes closed, and they weren't going down. And that was all she wrote. It was very disappointing because it was one of those years, Bob, where you thought, okay, this is one of those special teams.
Yeah,
and
they had them at what? They're 23-12.
Yeah. In fact, as we're talking Monday of opening day week. Fairfield plays today in a tournament nobody cares about. But you know what? They do. They want to win. They won on Sunday, and they play again on Monday, and hopefully they can keep the season going for as long as they possibly can.
What do you think about UConn? I think they're going to get beat by San Diego State. Now I picked that because you got to pick an upset. You got to have some one seeds go down. I think they let teams kind of stay with them, and I think one day all you need is a bad shooting second half like Fairfield had, and a team to start hitting some threes, and you could it's very easy to be eliminated from this tournament. You think they'll win the whole thing again? And it's tough to win 2 in a row.
It's tough to win 2 in a row. It can be done. Florida, I think, was the last team to do it. Villanova didn't win 2 in a row, but they had a pretty good run there. This team, UConn, has no real weaknesses. And you talked about you could have a bad shooting day or a bad shooting second half like Fairfield. Well, look what UConn did against Northwestern. They basically were 0 for the game from 3-point range, and they won it pretty comfortably. Can they lose? Sure. But it's going to have to be UConn having a horrible day. But we've seen in this tournament that anybody can be beaten. One of UConn's greatest national championship wins was against a supposedly unbeatable Duke team. So it can happen, but San Diego State, if San Diego State beats UConn, Bob, not the first beer, every beer at Citi Field when you and I are there together is on me.
All right. Well, I'll make sure that I'm going to drink a lot that day. I'm not a big drinker, but that day, the Irish will come out in me. Now, I actually had Chuck Everson on the other day, last week or 2 weeks ago, and he was on the '85 Villanova team, and I was asking him. I said, when teams like St. Peter's or VCU or Butler are in the Final Four, do you root against them? Because everybody else in America is rooting for them, except the other 3 teams' fans. And he said, absolutely, we're rooting. He goes, I want that record to stand. It stood for a long time. I'm rooting against them. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, boy, I remember that '85 game. We talk about super teams and teams that can't lose. Well, that was your example right there. Georgetown versus Villanova. Harold Jensen, by the way, a Connecticut guy, Trumbull, Connecticut, was one of the stars in that game. Of course, Pinckney. But that game, there were certain games throughout the lifetime of watching this tournament that stay with you forever. And that game is right near the top of the list.
I'll tell you, I went back and watched it before I did the interview with him. And there was some things like it was the last game, last season without a 3-point line. It was last season with no shot clock. And then the thing that I thought was crazy was in the last couple seconds, Villanova was up. I think they were up 4 or 5. They would have taken 3 possessions, and with no 3-point line, they couldn't tie it on two possessions. So with time running out, they hit a layup. Not UConn. Georgetown hit a layup, and the guy took the ball and he punched it into like the 10th row, just to stop the clock. because otherwise the clock would run while the ball was out of bounds. And
I know coaches who like that trick. Yeah.
I'm screaming at the TV like it was the most blatant thing ever. And they warned them earlier in the half not to do that because they did it again. And he didn't call a technical foul. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And my wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm screaming at an 85 game.
It's a good trick. I know coaches who teach players how to do that, actually, because they're not going to call it that first time. Second time they may call it, delay a game.
Yeah, I couldn't.
You're right. No 3-point. The 3-point line came in, I think, the start of the '87 season. Boy, how much has that changed the game?
Yeah, well, that's the great equalizer.
Oh, it's radical.
You get these guys hitting these threes, and that's how these little teams, that's how these mid majors win. Sure. They get a guy. Look at that. Look at Kentucky going down.
Yeah,
Kid hit 10 threes.
Well, same with my beloved Fairfield Stags. We played North Carolina. Unfortunately, it was the last time we were in the tournament. It was 1997. And we played North Carolina. We were a 16 seed. And we played not only the top seed, North Carolina, in that region, they were the number 1 overall seed in the tournament that year. They had Vince Carter, they had Antoine Jamison, they had Ed Cota.
Matt Doherty was the coach?
No, it was Dean Smith's last season as North Carolina's head coach. And we would have changed the course of history because if he had lost that game, then he was set to retire, and he did retire. Bill Guthridge took over after that season. But he was a win away from tying Adolph Rupp for most wins in college basketball history. And if he had lost, he wouldn't have retired. I guarantee he would have come back the following season to get the record. But I digress. Fairfield had a player named Greg Francis. God rest his soul. Great guy, tremendous player. Hit 8 3-pointers in that game. And it was part of what was almost essentially a perfect game for Fairfield. The Stags, with 2 minutes to go, had a 3-pointer in the air. We were up, I think, 7 at the half.
Wow.
And there was a 3-pointer in the air with about 2 minutes to go. Had it gone in, we would have taken the lead on North Carolina. And the place was going crazy. We were playing at the Joel Veterans Coliseum, which is the home court for Wake Forest.
Okay.
Place is sold out. Wake Forest fans and the fans in that region hate North Carolina. It's one of their arch rivals. So everyone in the building was a Fairfield fan. Fairfield's hitting all these 3-pointers, and this Vince Carter, Antoine Jamison team is almost on the verge of going down. Fairfield fell short by a few points. Would have made history ourselves that night because that would have been the first time a 16 had ever beaten a 1. But it didn't happen.
Now it happens every year.
That was a long way of, right. That was right, FDU last year. But that was my long story version of telling you there are only about 1 million examples of how much the 3-point line has impacted basketball.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. But the problem is now, too, with Steph Curry, I watch guys play. I've watched just at work in the gym, and the inmates, when we take the inmates down to the gym, they'll shoot a 3. There'll be a guy grabs the ball under the hoop, the rebound, an offensive rebound, and he dribbles it back out to the 3-point line. And I'm yelling at him. I'm like, "Go up! What are you doing? Yep. Nobody's there. Go up with it." Because you know why? Because I can be Steph Curry, right? I can't dunk the ball. I could never be, Jordan or Shaq. Because look at me. But I can be Steph Curry. I can hit those threes. So that's what I think it is.
Yeah, well, it's mathematics. It's analytics. If you look at the early years of the 3-point line, you essentially go from 1987, I'm talking about the college game now, through just not too many years ago where analytics has taken over the game. And the bottom line is simple. The 3-pointer is more effective than the 2-pointer, even when you're taking many of them and missing. So that has changed. And the NBA has caught up to that a long time ago. That has changed the game radically because of guys like Curry. But there's only one college coach that picked up on the 3-point value, and that was Rick Pitino. And his Providence team in Well, he took them to the Final Four. That Providence team went to the Final Four. They relied heavily on the three-pointer, so he was well ahead of the curve in that regard. But it has changed the game entirely. The NBA is now a positionless game. When you got a guy like, I'll give you an example, Brook Lopez, plays obviously for the Bucks. He went, this is off the top of my head, I think he went 8 years with the Nets taking three three-pointers. I think taking three or making, whatever the heck it was.
Either way, yeah.
He has made over the last, 9 years, 900 three-pointers. So he goes the first part of it, this is a big dude. Brook Lopez is big.
Yeah, if you don't know him, it's the commercial where he's the twin.
Right. I just saw that the other day. It's funny.
It is funny. I like when he's like, you're only a minute older. Best minute of my life.
They're good. I love Brooke and Robin Lopez. They're personable.
Yeah, that's funny.
But there are many examples. This is a guy who essentially didn't even attempt a three-pointer for half his career, and now he's getting close to 1,000 made for his career. Are you kidding me? So anyway, you get the point.
It's crazy.
Radical.
Now, listen, baseball season's here, finally, right? It's already started. I didn't even know it started. I thought it was starting like this week with the games overseas, so I didn't even see the Dodgers games. But first, before we get to the Mets and you tell me how good they're going to be and I tell you how bad they're going to be, so what do you think? What's up with this Ohtani thing? Is it as bad as I think it is?
Well, we're going to find out. We're talking on Monday.
Yeah.
Monday midday. In a few hours, he's speaking, which is rare. He doesn't. He's going to be speaking with the new interpreter too, as we all know. As far as what's going on, Bob, I'll rely on an old worn-out phrase: "Where there's smoke, there's fire."
I agree.
So who knows? But something's going on, because there's no way that $4.5 million exchanged hands, meaning goes from Ohtani's account to this
interpreter.
Yeah.
And he said that you can't go wire $4.5 million. I can't go to the bank and wire out of someone's account $4.5 million.
Yeah.
Without your signature, without you being there. The bank knows who Ohtani is. He's one of their bigger customers, I'm guessing.
Well, I have a couple of. The way I react to it is, A, something's going on. B, it's a real shame, because baseball needs players like Ohtani. He is, along with Aaron Judge, probably the face of baseball. He is absolutely the most. He's an international star, and baseball doesn't need their stars to get caught up in whatever the controversy is, because they don't have enough of them. Basketball, an international sport, football rules.
Yeah, well, the NFL better pay attention, because the NFL's got a little problem with this too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike, but that's probably for another podcast with another guest who can specialize in this stuff. But with baseball, as a lifelong baseball fan, it pains me to see the face of the game get caught up in something like this, and who knows where it's going to go. Now, I'm going to give you another take. I don't like the way that everybody jumps to conclusions with this stuff. Whereas I just said, I don't want to be contradictory, but I just said where there's smoke, there's fire. But I'll also say I don't like the low-hanging fruit aspect of this and how badly Ohtani got jumped. The old innocent until proven guilty thing. Okay, that's worn out as well. And yeah, something's going on. Let's see what he said. But let's say there's a possibility that this is the interpreter who got caught up in this mess, and that Ohtani did bail him out, and that the people who say that Ohtani doesn't really have much of an interest in other sports other than baseball, doesn't really know what's going on.
He lost $4.5 million gambling on him, right?
Yeah, well, I'm talking Ohtani.
Okay.
The interpreter, who knows what the real story is, but his teammates, meaning the Dodgers team, the Angels teammates, say that Ohtani didn't care about soccer or American football or whatever the hell else he allegedly might have bet on, they would be surprised. I don't know if that's the truth either. My point is, the guy's being, pilloried in public, and it's upsetting. People are jumping to conclusions without really knowing what's going on, and there's a reason they don't know what's going on, because we have no facts.
I don't think you're going to get anything today either. Everybody's lawyered up and everything already. I don't think you're going to get much today from him.
The thing is, Bob, as you know, being in the justice system, we will know, because what happened here with the $4.5 million, this interpreter has been accused of a major crime. So there's going to be a criminal investigation, and attendant to criminal investigations are facts. So we're going to find something out.
Yeah.
But none of it's good. What a series the Dodgers had, right? They
played overseas. I think they split it.
They did. They won the first game, and then the second game,
Yamamoto got killed.
Yeah, right. So, and that's the other thing here with the Ohtani story. Talk about burying the lead. The fact that Yamamoto, the $325 million pitcher, got his arse handed to him. Couldn't get out of the first inning. It allows 4 runs, and that's not the story. The story is this Ohtani interpreter scandal.
I had Tim Brown. You know Tim Brown, the USA Today. I think he's USA Today writer, the baseball writer. He told me that Ohtani's the best player in history.
Well, you know what? You can make a case that for what he's done. What he's done is just kind of like, what? I mean, who? Huh?
Yeah.
How can you just? He's an outstanding pitcher and an incredibly outstanding hitter, an offensive player. What?
Yeah.
Two-way baseball player in the 21st century at the elite level. So yeah, you know what? Tim Brown can make a case, and I'm not arguing against him.
There you go. Now the Mets. Listen, disappointing last year. I feel a little better now that we made the signing of Martinez. Just today, I think they announced, I just wrote it down, DJ Stewart's coming north with the team. I like DJ Stewart. I think he's a good, I think he's kind of like a Matt Franco kind of guy, a good bench guy, get a couple good hits. Mark Vientos staying in the minors. What do you think about those moves?
Well, the Vientos thing, I'm going to take it for what they sold us, that they want him to continue to get regular at-bats, regular turns at third base, and most importantly, they didn't want to yo-yo him. In other words, if you keep him on the Major League roster, well, he knows he's going down in a week or two, when JT Martinez comes back. Mm-hmm. So why do that? Why bring him to New York, have him march out there on opening day, and then know that you're going to be going to Syracuse in another week or so? So I'm okay with that. DJ Stewart, I liked him too. He was one of the reasons you watched the team in September last year, in the sense that, okay, this guy's producing and he's a surprise, and maybe we call lightning.
Decent outfielder too. Decent outfielder.
He's okay, but they're not going to. That's not. He would make the team because he's a decent DH from the left side. What they told him is, you're coming with us to New York, but what the Mets are doing is they're watching all these last wave of cuts. And I hate to say it, but there are a lot of DJ Stewarts out there, and there may be somebody, maybe not, who fits what they're looking for that particular need, a left-handed DH. G-Man Choi accepted the demotion to Syracuse. He's somebody who's valuable in the sense that he can play first base, and he's also a guy who fills that left-handed role. So we'll see. We'll see. I liked him, but I'm not going to get hung up too much on the DJ Stewart thing. The Vientos thing is more fascinating because obviously they decided, nope, this is not our answer this year. You were faced with the possibility, Bob, of having two young, unproven guys. Beatty made the opening. He'd never made an opening.
Yeah, Beatty's had a rough start.
Baby, he's had it. Well, we'll see. Well, you know what? I'm okay with this. But two of them, meaning if we had Beatty, and Vientos.
Yeah.
So if Vientos is your right-handed DH and Beatty's your third baseman, no, that's not good. So the Martinez thing, great move. A great move on several levels, just from the fact that it's J.D. Martinez and you're plugging him into that lineup.
They didn't have a viable DH.
Right. And it also gives the fan base a reason to be energized again. Because, as you know, the fan base was down on
They threw us some red meat. They threw us some red meat a week before the season.
Yeah, but they did it for the right reason.
Yes.
They weren't going to overpay, at least in this particular instance, for a guy who's in his mid-30s. He fit the profile. They stuck to the plan. And they stuck to the plan, but they did hedge a little. So in other words, they brought in a 30-plus-year-old guy.
Contract year, though. It's only a one-year deal.
Hey, as Mike Francesa used to say, I like him when the guy's singing for a supper.
Back after this, right?
Right. Exactly.
What do you think about Nimmo moving? I love Nimmo. I think my wife. It's my wife's favorite player. She's been yelling at me to get her a Nimmo jersey for years now. Do you think I liked him in center field. Excellent center fielder. How do you think he's going to fare out in left? Because I know I played center field, not at Nimmo's level, obviously, but it's a totally different thing watching the ball come off the bat when you're in left field or right field than it is in center field.
Yeah, well, first of all, I like the fact you got Harrison Bader now in center field. So knock on wood, he stays healthy, and he's a tremendous defensive presence in center field. From, again, what I have read about positional shifts, left field is much more difficult than right field. The ball comes off the bat differently to left field, and it's a little bit tougher. But Nimmo's the kind of guy who you look at how much he upgraded his defense as far as a center fielder is concerned. I think he can handle that transition well, and it also I think cuts down a little bit on the wear and tear, and that's another aspect to the Nimmo equation. He last year he learned. This is a guy who actually had the problem of going too hard, and
there's no need to sprint down the first base on a walk.
Yeah, or put in the kind of work that he put in before even spring training began. I think it was Lindor. I could be wrong in this, but I think it was Lindor who talked to him, or maybe even at some point Carlos Baerga. Somebody spoke to Nimmo and said, tranquilo, you got to know when to really let it all go. And Nimmo started to pace himself a little bit, and you saw last year he played in more games than he's ever played in. And I think the move to left field is a good one, in that again it helps. It helps prevent what was always the biggest thing with Nimmo, staying healthy. But last year, for the most part, knock on wood, he stayed healthy and will continue to do so.
Yeah, anyway, it was a bad year for last year for Marte. He was injured in and out and stuff. But when Marte is good, I think Marte is a good ball player. He's a good hitter. He's decent in the outfield. He's got a good arm. If Marte can really stay on the field and have an okay year like he did 2 years ago, I think they have a good outfield.
I totally agree. Again, Marte is one of those guys who he's muscular. He's tight. He plays hard.
He's fast. He can run the bases.
Yeah. And he was never healthy last year. He had that off-season surgery, never really recovered from it. One of many things right from the get-go last year in 2023. Really, if you look back at it, Bob, I know I'm exaggerating this a little bit, but the season ended when Edwin Diaz went down. My point being,
you don't got to tell me that it was over.
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't. But the fact is, it set in motion a chain of just episodes and games and events that, what? Just one thing after another started going. You had Verlander didn't start the season. You had Marte, who was really pretty much hurt out of the gate. You had the domino effect in the bullpen because of Edwin Diaz. You had Max Scherzer and the freaking the sticky stuff thing in April. I mean, it's just one. You have those years. You have those years that just
every other year though we have those years.
Well,
It was a very Jetsy year. It was a very Jetsian year.
It was, and that unfortunately gives the Doomers plenty of reason to, get gloom, speak the gloom and doom, which is understandable. I can't fight that, but I look at it through a different lens, and I'm not talking about it as the glass half full guy. I'm looking at it from the Steve Cohen era lens. So what you've had with Cohen was his first year. What you've had is you had a 100 win season, 100 plus win season, sandwiched by 270 plus win seasons. All right. The first season was the Luis Rojas was the manager.
Yeah, he gets a pass on the first season, I think.
Right. It didn't fire. Right. So then the second season is the Buck Showalter season. Everything fell into place until the series against the Padres. The third season, what does he do? Meaning Steve Cohen, he steps outside the stated plan. He said from the get-go, his goal was sustainable success, and there's only one way to do that, and that is by building up the system, and that's at all different levels, meaning front office, business stuff, scouting, technology, drafting the right players, developing the right way. He was committed to that financially. The other thing you do is, of course, supplement that with smart free agent signings. And what he did when he signed Verlander was he kind of stepped outside of his own plan.
He panicked. He got the pressure from New York. He panicked, and he just went out and threw money at it.
And it didn't work. So he reset. So there's where I'm looking at it from that standpoint. All right, let's see where we go now from the reset. The reset being the trade deadline last year. Late June, Bob, we remember, at the end of June, the Mets were 18 and a half games out of first place. So we knew where the team, June was just a horrendous month, and you knew where it was going. Then we get to the trading deadline, and they do what I thought was the smart thing. Yet, at that point, that's when the Doom squad had its fuel because they sold. They sold in a big way.
They had to sell. And they were out of it.
Absolutely. But
people screaming and yelling at me. People screaming and yelling at me that, they're only 7 games out with 50 to go. I go, have you watched this team? 7 games is a lot to make up in 50. 8 games.
At that point, and I'm in favor of it. I thought that was a smart thing to do. But it gave a lot of the naysayers reason to not only pull the plug. I have a friend who works in the ticket office, and I said, "Is it as bad as I'm reading? You read about season ticket holders. You read the comments in the New York Post, and you listen to talk radio. I gave up on my season ticket plan. I'm giving up on the team." And he told me, yeah. He said a lot of people are bailing out on their plans, and he said it happens when people get down on the direction of the team, they get out. Conversely, when you have a season like they had with the 101, 102 wins, everybody gets in. But he said it was worse than I actually had thought, based on what my buddy was telling me. I personally sensed it because my season ticket rep called me, and when he realized not only was I still in, which I couldn't figure out why he ever thought I would have been out, but he was.
They got you. You're in. You're in either way.
I actually started asking him about. I wanted to upgrade because that's how I looked at it. I said, I can actually probably
buy low,
upgrade exactly, which I did. I upgraded, and when he sensed that, oh my God, he says, not only is he still in, he's going to actually upgrade his plan. I could sense the relief in his voice because he was getting so much of it the other way. For every one of me, there were 5 who were getting out.
I got a private tour. I got a private tour of Citi Field by myself with my family on the field, in the dugout, in Steve Cohen's box, and the guy still calls me every week. And private tour, me, my wife, and my daughter. walking around Citi Field all by ourselves everywhere you could go, in the locker room, dugouts. And I was like, listen, I don't really, with the amount that I work, I would love to, but and they don't guarantee something about it. He doesn't guarantee playoff tickets and something. I'm like, listen, I just right now it's not for me. I appreciate this tour. The guy still calls me once a week.
You just informed me about how bad a negotiator I am. I have no tours.
I got none of that. It was great, Bob. It was great. I got pictures of me and my daughter in the dugout. I'll send a couple to you. You should see. It's great. It was the best thing ever. I went Cohen's box.
Whenever they call me and ask me if I want to renew this year, I'm going to say I want the tour that Bob Heussler's got.
One of the most surprising things that I noticed, like they took me into that, the new club behind the right field fence, the low seats, the Millionaires Club.
Yeah.
Those seats are, I was always like, why would anybody want to sit there? They're terrible seats. They're not as bad as I thought. They were. Really? It's actually I wouldn't want to sit there every day, but it's not a bad spot to watch a couple games over the course of a season. So if you have like an extra 8,000 laying around or something, you could go sit there on a Tuesday night.
Interesting. I actually had that. No, I didn't think about going to that club, but I had the same thought you did. I said, boy, that's a lot of money for a seat that I don't know if I want to sit there.
It's not bad. It's not a bad view. It's not as bad a view as you think.
Okay. All right.
I was actually surprised because I was like, these are going to be terrible seats. It's like sitting, you know what it is? It's like sitting. I thought it would be like sitting on the glass at a hockey game. Everybody's like, oh, great. You get to bang on the glass. Those are some of the worst seats in the whole building.
They are.
When it's down at the other end, you can't see nothing going on. That's what I thought it was going to be. It turns out it was better. It looked from, with nobody on the field, it was better than I thought it was going to be. I was actually surprised.
I'm going to tell you, and I know you're a Rangers fan, because of somebody I know at the Garden, I have occasionally had the opportunity to be on the glass. And you're right. Bad spot.
Yeah.
It's great when it's right in front of you, but it's
it's great when it's right in front of you. We had him the night they retired Lundqvist's jersey. I went on StubHub just to see if I could get something, right? Real, somewhat cheap, a couple $100 a ticket. Somebody, I think, had corporate seats, and I went on at the right time. They posted them right then. $250 a seat, which is expensive, but $250 a seat, 3 rows off the ice. I was touching Mark Messier as he walked out to the ceremony, and Sam and a whole bunch of them, and Leach. And I sat there for the ceremony for Lundqvist's jersey going up. Actually, they're right behind me over here. If you see up here, I'll show you up there. I have that's me and my wife at our seats, right on the glass.
Okay. Okay.
Oh wait. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was on the wrong camera. But anyway. But see, I told you I'm not a technical guy. But we were right on the glass, 3 rows off the ice for $250. It was the best seats in the house for the ceremony. For the game, it was terrible.
Yeah, and you were 3 rows up, which I will say that the experience of actually having somebody slam the glass right in front of you, as long as you're holding the beer tightly, is cool. But as far as perspective, not cool. But it's still fun. It is a lot
absolutely,
of fun.
Absolutely. Now, anyway, back to the Met. We got off on a tangent there, Bob.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We're too friendly with each other. We're getting off on tangents. We're talking about our experiences. Nobody wants to hear about where I sat at the Rangers game.
I do.
There you go. Now, listen. When Senga went down, I said July. I even went on this show and I said, listen, it's going to be July. I don't care what the doctors say. I don't care what the Mets say. We've seen this before. It's July. Turns out he's starting to throw already.
Yeah,
I'm worried about the rotation. Severino is, he's a 1-inning pitcher last year, and I hope he can be better, but I'm not sure. What do you think? This looks like a Wilpon rotation.
Well, I'll say 2 things about the rotation. The best is yet to come, if you're to believe in what people, and not Mets people outside the organization, are saying and writing and analyzing when it comes to the Mets farm system and the pitching. They finally have pitching down below. And now, whether that works out or not, who knows? But they have some guys, Christian Scott, probably most notably. They're they're Hamill, Vassell, you know the names. So that's what we're talking about when you talk about sustainable success. That's what you need. You need to develop your own talent, most notably starting pitching. I agree with you as far as this rotation is concerned. It's basically you may be whistling past the graveyard with a lot of these guys, but you hope that things break the way they might break. So every one of the guys in that rotation, starting with Quintana, right through, you mentioned Severino. Well, as far as I'm concerned, Severino potentially is outside of Senga. He's the best. He's clearly the best pitcher on the staff.
Who knows? Last year, I couldn't believe the Yankees kept running him out there every 5 days last year.
Well,
he was literally first inning out, 5 runs, 6 runs. He wouldn't get an out. I was like, you can't keep running this guy out there. And of course, the Mets pick him up first thing in the offseason.
Well, you know what they're working on with him? Tipping his pitches. That's what they're working on that with him. Well, they pretty much conclusive. Without being conclusive, that's what the general consensus is that he was tipping his pitches. His stuff is too good. So I don't know if that's correctable. Hopefully it is. With him, of course, it's health. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite when it comes to pitchers who have the profile of a Luis Severino, and the profile being eventually he'll get hurt. And I don't think that way. I'm not a negative person, but that's his history. And it has been for the most part since he had his great year in 2018. He gets hurt. Now, maybe the Mets caught lightning in the bottle, because if he's healthy and they somehow can fix this tipping of the pitches issue, you may have a really good pitcher. Quintana's a nice, serviceable pitcher, and we know the names: Sean Manaea, Adrian Hauser,
Tyler McGill can give you 5 good innings.
Jose Butto is looming. You're going to see him soon enough.
Why can't we go get Montgomery?
I think the answer probably is because you've got a 30-plus-year-old pitcher who is going to ultimately – he would be great if you think you're right there. I'll answer it that way.
Okay.
If you think that's what you need to really get either to the top or close to being over the top, you go out and get Jordan Montgomery.
So he'd be perfect for the Yankees.
He would be. I'm surprised they haven't. When we get off this podcast, that may be done, because Montgomery.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
The next 48 hours,
especially with Cole going down.
Yeah, Montgomery's in the Yankees. He's in the mix with the Yankees. You read, and Red Sox also are interested. And the Orioles. Boy, if the Orioles were to get Jordan Montgomery after adding Corbin
the Orioles
Burns.
are good. The Orioles are good, and they're a good team. They're gonna be good for a while because they're young.
Well, you know what? Look at the Orioles and what they've done, Bob. And I'm not saying they're the model. In fact, it's not. The Orioles had so many
they haven't been good since Cal Ripken.
Yeah, it's been horrible. My grandkids live in the near Baltimore, so I go to a lot of Orioles games when I'm down there. And there are times I'd be going down there, and I could pick where I wanted to sit, and not so anymore. But they had so many draft picks, high draft picks. But what they did is they hit on them.
Rutschman's a big time player.
You got Holiday, who didn't even make the opening day roster. He's going to be. It was one after another. I'm not saying this is the same path the Mets are going to take, but this is what they want to develop their own talent. And then when the time comes, you go out and you make the smart signing. It sounds simple, but really it all starts with an organization that is solid from top to bottom. That's what the Mets are looking to do. I agree with you, though, about the rotation. It's okay, flip a coin. Any of these guys could go either way. So hopefully you got all the bad karma out of the way last year, and maybe the Mets are due for some good karma.
Hey, listen, it could be a fun team, right? It could be a fun team. They have a $300 million payroll, so there's got to be some talent in there. If they get people, they're paying that much money. They got so many guys that were so bad last year. Law of averages say a couple of them got to have bounce back seasons, right?
I look, the projections, the Vegas, the over/under, what is it, 81 or so?
Is that what I'm not sure. It sounds about right.
Yeah, I would take 81. Yeah, 81 and a half, whatever. I'm going with the over because it is a fun team with JD Martinez in that lineup. The offense looks entirely different. You have guys who are looking to bounce back. Marte, Jeff McNeil. I don't need to get into names. You know them. Who could very easily bounce back. The bullpen's pretty good, starting with the guy at the back of it.
You think he's going to have a good year?
Yes, absolutely. I think Edwin Diaz has a lot, as long as he stays healthy, as long as any of these guys stay healthy. But Edwin Diaz is one of these closers who, he's elite. He's elite. And the bullpen's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. There's some unknown quantities in that bullpen. They got a couple of lefties. You need that. Raley, and then they got Diekman. They got some hard throwers in the bullpen now. I don't like Drew Smith, but hopefully he proves me wrong. Jorge Lope. Again, I don't want to get into that. You know the names.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad bullpen. Especially because you've got Diaz and you got Ottavino. All right, knock on wood.
I feel like he's been there since 1995, Ottavino.
He knows how to pitch. He knows how to pitch, and he doesn't have to close games. We had closer by committee last year. We're done with that. So there's some real intrigue with this team. Are they a super team? No. But look, who got to the World Series last year?
That's
Two
the thing.
freaking wild card teams. Who had the Diamondbacks and the Rangers? Actually, they were stumbling. The Rangers were in danger of not even making the playoffs deep into September last year. They rallied. They get in. They win the freaking world. The Atlanta Braves, the great Atlanta Braves, Bob, Atlanta Braves. 100 wins plus last 2 seasons. One and done both years.
Yeah, and listen, it's a crapshoot. The playoffs are a crapshoot.
It's the Mets for the 103 wins, whatever the heck it was in 2022. They go down against the freaking San Diego Padres.
I know. I was in the ballpark with there was empty seats in the upper deck. Oh, it was terrible. The whole series was just a disaster.
Awful. It just, I get when I think about those moments, the Padres and as Steve Summers would say, the mushroom and barley soup just comes up. It just irritates me to think about that stuff. So I think about, okay, maybe it goes right this year. Maybe they sneak into the playoffs. Maybe they get in as a wild card. And maybe they become the freaking San Diego Padres and they beat the Dodgers or the Braves or whoever in the first round and catch a little fire and maybe overachieve.
Listen, the world has a way of kind of, being secular and correcting itself. Like the Red Sox got their championships after Game 6, after the curse and the Yankees and everything. The Rangers just won last year, right? Because after that game, after a better Game 6 than the Mets and Red Sox had, I think, was that Cardinals Rangers one where the Freeze.
David Freeze, yep.
And it kind of that was a wild. I've never seen anything like that.
That was You forget the Rangers were right there. Was it 2010 and 2011, and they messed
with
it up.
Ron Washington.
Right. You're right. You said the Red Sox. Look at the Cubs. You had the Bartman game, and then 2016 they figured it out.
You know what we don't have? We don't have a GM. Well, we'll go get Theo Epstein. He seems to be the magic potion.
Kind of. Well, you know what? I like the guy they have right now. I like the fact that again, Steve Cohen, like him. I don't get it. I don't understand why. It seems a lot of Mets fans are down on Steve Cohen. I don't get it. I don't like all the things he says, and I think there's a lot of ego involved here. I like less I and more us. That being said, I think he has the right idea. He's given the keys to somebody who has a track record of performing as a front office executive.
And he's doing the right thing. Look, he's building up the whole area. Well, finally, that area has been begging to have some kind of like thing for us to do before the game. To have that area, get rid of those chop shops, get rid of the car stuff, and he's finally doing it.
Yeah, well, it could be that when your 10-month-old daughter is going to games on her own, she's going to talk to you and say, "Dad, what? Chop shops? What? It used to be this here and that." Because you're not only talking about have you seen the rendering of that soccer stadium that's going up?
Oh yeah, it looks beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, you going to the Mets game? Can you pick me up a catalytic converter?" And she's gonna be like, "What are you talking about?" Like one of those places around. She's like, "No." So I mean, listen, it's great. Now, I spoke with you after I had Bob Nightingale on, and he reiterated to us before the news really broke that he thought that the Mets were going to go real hard after Soto next year. Is Soto a Met player next year? This time next year?
It could be. I mean, everybody seems to think that. I kind of I'll take a wait and see attitude on that. Look, if money's an issue, here's how I'll say. If they feel that Juan Soto at this time next year is somebody who can get them to where they want to go, they'll sign him. They will, because, again, people down on Cohen, he offered Yamamoto the same amount of money that he signed for with the Dodgers, $325 million. Cohen,
yeah, I don't blame him for that. I don't blame him for not getting Yamamoto. We did what we could. He chose not to come here.
My point being that, are the Mets willing, is Cohen going the Wilpons route? You hear that? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, not the Wilpons.
And why? Because Yamamoto is 25 years old, and he's a commodity. Starting pitching, elite starting pitching, that's the diamond. That's the diamond in the.
There's only like 6 guys out there who go more than 5 innings routinely.
So yeah, they were willing to spend that amount of money because Yamamoto fit what they felt they needed, not only this year, but going forward. So that's my answer to your question about Soto. If Soto fills the need in that lineup, and they may, because who knows, and please don't get me into an Alonso thing, but we'll have to see what happens with that.
Listen, keep on. He's on a contract year, right? He's on a contract deal. Let him kill it this year.
That's right. I'm fine with that. Kill it and make Steve Cohen have to really think hard about whether or not he wants the most popular Met to walk.
And Cohen's on the record of saying, "I hope he hits a 50 home runs."
Yes.
I hope he makes it hard for me.
That's how it works. And you know what? He deserves it. Alonso this is, as Cohen has said, this is Alonso's contract year. This is it. This is it. This is his chance to hit the big jackpot. And he's going to, if he just goes out and has a normal Pete Alonso.
He's headed for 500 home runs.
Absolutely. What did he had a bad year, air quotes bad year.
44 home runs. Right?
46. Almost under 20 RBIs.
Yeah. Rough year.
Almost on. Yeah. So anyway, you asked me about Soto. If they feel they have to go get Juan Soto because he fills the long-term need, in addition to just being the right guy for that lineup now, money's not going to be an object with Steve Cohen. It's not.
Yeah, I agree. Now, are you excited? For Strawberry and Gooden? I'm glad they're doing it on separate days. Now I know Strawberry had a recent heart attack. The 86 team's falling apart a little bit. You got little Lenny's no surprise that he's having issues. Strawberry with the heart attack. I'm glad that they're doing it on separate days. I think they each deserve their own day. I'm glad they're doing that. Are you excited to see that this year?
Yeah, I'll be there for the Gooden Day. That's a Sunday, and it's coming up. They play the Royals on a Sunday.
When is it? When's the Gooden Day?
Let's see. The Gooden Day is, I'm staring at my calendar. It's the Royals. What is that? April looks like the 14th. April 14th.
Okay. So it's right away. Okay.
Yeah, that's coming up. And then the Strawberry one is in early June. I think it's a Saturday.
Okay.
I don't hold me to the date. I think it's June 2nd, Bob, but I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
Gooden's definitely the Royals, Sunday, April the 14th.
I wonder why they did it against the
love that.
Royals.
Well, promotion.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
That's why. By the way, that's why.
Royals. I saw the Royals win the World Series one time live.
This is why they separated, though. I mean, this is the new thing, and I'm all for it. I'm all for doing this stuff, but you also, this is how major league teams operate. They take these, they turn this stuff into events, and this is a big event, and this will help sell tickets.
Of course it is. You think they should have put them together?
Oh, well, I think the reason they didn't put them together is so you can do what I just said. You have one on. You sell tickets for the 14th. That Royal Sunday game may not have had. Let's say you would have put 25,000 in the seats that day, off the top of my head, or maybe now you get to 30,000 or even more for 30.
I like to think he's doing the right thing because he's a Mets fan.
There's no doubt. Well, here's one thing about Steve Cohen. That's what he did from day one. He embraced the history of the team, and that's where Fred Wilpon admits he really dropped the ball. I mean, even Citi Field is a facsimile of his favorite ballpark growing up. I'm fine with it.
It had a brown fence.
Well, there's two things there. The Ebbets Field look. Really, I mean, it's Ebbets Field is what it is. You look at it, it's Ebbets Field, which is fine. I love that. But then you had Citi Field's tremendous. Wilpon got that right, and Jeff. He was the point man on that. So you got to give credit where it's due. And Jeff grew up. He went to a lot of Tigers games. As I understand it, and you had that deck
with the poles.
The right field deck is kind of homage to the old Tiger Stadium. So you had the Tiger Stadium, part of Tiger Stadium, Ebbets Field, and then you walked in. There was a lot of Dodger stuff. Jackie Robinson, which is great in the Rotunda, but there should have been an equal amount of Mets stuff. They got it right. Wilpon eventually realized, he admitted, should have been more Mets history homage. And he got it right. He started trending in the right direction. And then Cohen clearly has.
They shortened the fences, right? Is that what they did? They made them.
Good. They had.
They had a mile out there, right?
Yeah, Howie Rose, the left field. That was the Great Wall of Flushing. That's how he still calls it. It's not there anymore. But anytime a home run is hit. Anytime a home run is hit out there, regardless of the fact the Great Wall of Flushing disappeared after year one, and right field was really. Remember David Wright? His power was to right center, and
it was that deep like
that huge. Oh God!
Classic.
But they got it. They got it right. Citi Field, Bob. Let me tell you, I'm a Shea Stadium guy. In fact, my first game.
Hey, look at my shirt.
Polo. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that's my. I started in the Polo Grounds with my dad in '62, and I've been to at least one game. At least one game every year of Shea Stadium's existence, and then Citi Field opened. And I told my sons,
but it was our dump.
It was our dump, and I said to them, Shea Stadium's always going to be my park. Citi Field can be your park, but I've actually changed my attitude. Citi Field is also my park.
It's beautiful.
I love Citi Field. I remember
right before they built it, I went to Philly to see a Mets game with my buddy.
Yeah.
And we walked in there and we were like, you know what? That was when the bank was brand new. And then we looked at each other and we were like, we need a new ballpark. This is great.
Yeah. Well,
and then we got one.
Yeah, so, and Citi Field's that's very similar to Citibank.
Yes.
Bank parking.
Kind of like where it's open. Similar. It's an open when you're walking around the field level. You can watch the game because it's all open. Yeah, I like it. I really have come to appreciate Citi Field enormously. It's now my ballpark too. And you got those seats 10 rows off the dugout too. So I mean, not too shabby there either.
I upgraded. Remember?
How do you?
I am now.
What are you, the bench coach now?
I I didn't get the tour that you got.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, I'll send my guy your way. He's calling me every week. I'll send him your way. The tour is great, but I mean these phone calls every week.
Yeah, well, that's again. I was a horrible negotiator. I should have negotiated.
Wait till you see the pictures. I'm going to send you the pictures. Wait till you see them.
But no, I actually moved into. I'm in the Hyundai Club now.
Those are best seats in the house, Bob. Best seat. Have you sat up there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. In fact, Bob, every year for opening day from '09 when Citi Field opened, right up until not long ago, I always sat in the Hyundai Club.
Best seats in the house.
Look, yeah, that's where I wanted to be on opening day. Then I got the season tickets where you and I met down near the field. But I'll tell you what, and they great seats, section 113.
And it's a wedding at a Mets game. You walk in the back there, everything's free, buffet, carving station. Oh, it's great.
Oh yeah, the Hyundai Club. Yeah. My seats where I met you down in section 113 were really good, but in the summer, man, it get hot. That sun comes on that side of the field. You're on the sun. So the Hyundai Club, I'm a little more protected, and yeah, you can't argue with the buffet.
Oh, it's great. I got tickets there one time late in the season for like a September. They were out of it a couple years ago. Double header. I went right after work. And I've always wanted to sit there. And I got them cheap, like $75, $80 or something off StubHub. And I got one ticket and I went in there and the lady put the bracelet on me. She goes, "Oh, you're lucky. We're serving 2 dinners tonight." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I go in there and I called it a wedding at a Mets game because it's carving station, hot dogs, popcorn, everything.
Yeah. And around the 5th inning or so, they bring out, the sweets, the ice cream. Yeah, and I have to admit that one of the reasons I upgraded was because that's what my grandkids are all about. Meaning they can't really follow baseball that well yet. They're very young, but they know it. They love their cotton candy. You'll have to come to a game with me. You'll have to be my guest at a Hyundai Club.
I'm not looking forward to having to go to go stop at the souvenir shops in a couple of years. That'll put you out of business. That'll put you bankrupt.
Yeah, that's a second mortgage right there.
I do the grab bag. Did you ever do the grab bag?
Yes. Yeah. I
got this right here. A Tolly nameplate that was above his locker.
Oh, nice.
I got Pete Alonso game used piece of a bat, and I got a Drury jersey, game worn jersey. I was like, "Oh, I want the jersey." The guy started, he kind of hooked me up that time. He's like, "Got the jersey," and I was like, "All right, I'll take an Alonso game one." And he's like, "No, that's not how it works." He's like, "You can have these with this guy." He started pulling out names I've never heard of, and he's like, "Drury." I'm like, "Chris Drury, GM of the Rangers. I'll take it." So that's what I got.
He had a good year last night. That Drury, by the way, had a good year.
Yeah,
another thing that went wrong for us.
Now he's in the majors. He's a good ball player.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
He's a good ball player. So I got that, sitting in my closet. Now, tell us a little bit. You're newly enshrined into the Fairfield Hall of Fame. Tell us who you go in with, who you went in with, what that was like. Because now you're a Hall of Famer. You're a Hall of Famer. You got to be introduced as a Hall of Famer.
Well, my broadcast partner on the Fairfield games is a real Hall of Famer. His name is Joe DeSantis, Bronx kid, big Yankees fan, which is amazing we get along as well as we do. Far as I'm concerned, greatest basketball player in Fairfield in university history. He was long in, but I've been doing their games for a long time, and I was quite astonished by the announcement that they were going to have me as part of that Hall of Fame. I think the years have a lot to do with it, Bob, but I think they also, meaning the Fairfield people, they know I really love it, and I feel it's a family thing. I feel part of the Fairfield community family, so I was quite humbled and honored by the honor. I went in with a number of different athletes and a team. There was Fairfield used to have football. They inducted a football team the night I was enshrined. Tyler Nelson, who was the leading scorer in Fairfield history, he went in with my class. But anyway, it's still hard to hear, like you introduced me and read some of my background stuff.
That's it. You're a Hall of Famer.
And it's hard to get used to that, but I'm proud of it. I am proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You should be. You should be. I listened to a little bit. You called the Knicks game the other day. I listened to a little bit of that. You're good. You're like, you remind me of, and I hate to even, you're going to tell me, forget it. Don't even compare me to this, but you remind me a little bit of Breen.
It's funny. I talked to Mike before that game. I go way, way back with Mike, being at the Fan. We used to play together, he and I and a bunch of other Fan personalities used to play on something called the Fan 66ers. And we used to play charity basketball games. And Chris Russo would play. Gary Cohen would play for the Fan 66ers.
Gary Cohen's good, too. He does the Seton Hall games.
Yes. He's a great, he's a great versatile broadcaster. Forget baseball. Gary Cohen, in my humble opinion, is the greatest there is in baseball right now. The greatest baseball broadcaster of all time has been Scully. But I'm telling you that Gary Cohen is right up near that.
The Mets have had great announcers. Look at even Gary Thorne. Gary Thorne is great in hockey.
He is.
And he was excellent. Goodbye home run for the Mets. Oh, forget it. He's great.
High energy, personality. And, of course, the three guys on the Mount Rushmore broadcasters for the Mets are, Bob Murphy and Ralph Kiner and Lindsey Nelson. But Breen, a quick story about Breen. I have actually been stopped more than a few times by people in other NBA arenas.
You look like them.
Yeah. I'll tell you, here's the story. This is the truth. I was in Chicago doing a Nets-Bulls game. Game's over. The engineer's taking down the equipment. I'm hanging with him and chatting with him. And a guy comes up to me and taps me on the shoulder and said, this is in Chicago. He says, hey. He says, you mind if I have take a selfie with you? And, I was being polite. I said, yeah, sure. And he takes the selfie, and he says, I really appreciate it, man. It was great meeting you. He shakes my hand, and he walks away, and then it clicked. I said, that freaking guy actually thinks he just took a selfie with Mike Breen. Because it has happened to me more times than you imagine. People think if I put on the glasses.
Yeah. Do you have a puts it up, puts it in?
And for Breen, it would have to be bang. If I was going to steal something,
bang. Yeah,
it would be bang.
Hey, listen, I heard he's a funny guy.
Mike is when he was on Imus, he had that great routine going. Bill from White Plains. He would call in like he was calling into the Imus show, and he would go into this alter ego, Bill from White Plains, and it was hilarious. Anybody who's listening to this podcast who was an Imus in the Morning fan and remembers when Breen was doing the updates, they would remember Bill from White Plains. It was hilarious. He's a great guy too. I've had the good fortune, Bob, of working with Ian Eagle, Kevin Burkhardt, and Mike Breen at the Fan, all elite broadcasters and all not good guys, great guys.
Ian Eagle is great. He's great. I've been trying to get his information to get him on this show. I know a girl who her husband works at CBS Sports. He works for CBS Sports, and I'm like, why have I not had Ian Eagle on the show? And she's like, well, I'm like, listen, just get me his information. I won't tell him where I got it from. I think Ian Eagle's one of the best. He's versatile. He's great at football. He's great. He did the U.S. Open for a while. Oh, he's great.
Well, he's now your voice of the NCAA tournament. He's your Final Four guy. He's your championship game. He's replacing Jim Nance, which I think he's better than Nance. Well, I love Nance, so I'm not going to get into that. But Ian Eagle is tremendous, and the country knows because he's a national football announcer. But now the NCAA tournament audience, which already knows his work because he's been doing it for years, now he's just going to be the Final Four guy. I don't want to turn this into a love fest, but you brought up Breen's name, and I can't tell you how fortunate I have been to have struck up relationships with some not just great broadcasters. These are great people.
Yo, he's great. He's great. The bird and the beard, right? Under the NFL.
Yes. Oh yeah, the bird and the beard. I love it. But he is so. When Ian is like in a group of like if you're out in a dinner group with Ian, he'll take it over. He's that guy who.
Yeah, see, that's what I do. I do the same thing.
He's just one after. He's natural born funny, and he's a natural born elite broadcaster.
Did you ever see the game he did? It's like a Division III national championship basketball. And it's the greatest basketball comeback I've ever seen. They came back from like 6 points down and like 9 seconds left, steals. The guy hits the layup. I forget the name of it. But he did it because you know how before like next week they'll have the Division II instead of having the standalone game at 12. They'll have the Division II national championship. It was one that was Barton versus somebody else, and it was the greatest thing. And it was the greatest call. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, Ian's first of all, as far as just the play is concerned, and seeing what's in front of him, he's tremendous. But he also has the gift of being able to turn a phrase instantly. He can come up with something like, boom, right off the top of his head, and it fits perfectly into the sequence of what you're watching. And you either have it or you don't. Unfortunately, a lot of sportscasters try to do what Ian does effortlessly, and they fall short. There aren't many Iron Eagles out there.
No. He's one of the premier broadcasters in America. Now listen, Bob, I would keep you here all day. We'd be talking through the Fairfield game at 4:30.
Absolutely. That's why we got to do a baseball game together.
Absolutely. And we absolutely have to do it. And when San Diego State wins on Friday night, I'm coming to the game with you, and you're buying me beers, and you're carrying me out.
I'm not worried. For some reason, I'm not worried about having.
And now that I know that the Hyundai Club of the seats, I'm really pulling even harder for San Diego State. Bob, thank you for coming. Hall of Famer, Bob Heussler, everybody.
Bob, it's always a pleasure being with you.
Always. Thank you. Good job. I'm sorry. How about that? Thank you, Bob Heussler. One of the best people in the world. He's just simply one of the best people out there. And I'm going to be rooting hard for San Diego State tonight to win this game. And because he's going to be paying for those beers. I'll tell you that much. But we want to thank you for coming on, Bob. As always, Bob Heussler. He's always comes on and doesn't even ask any questions. Always comes on and asks me when can we have him on. He has a good time here. He's one of the best people. He's one of the most knowledgeable baseball people out there. He's a fixture in New York sports, with Mike and the Mad Dog and the WFAN since almost the beginning. And but hopefully they get a nicer day tomorrow. Mets and Brewers, 1 o'clock, Citi Field. Enjoy the game, everybody. Enjoy the basketball tonight if you're watching. Let's go, Mets. I'm Bob Walters. Thank you to Bob Heussler. See ya. But hopefully they get a nicer day tomorrow. Mets and Brewers, 1 o'clock, Citi Field. Enjoy the game, everybody. Enjoy the basketball tonight if you're watching. Let's go, Mets. I'm Bob Walters. Thank you to